Here are 10 anime series that are often considered manly due to their intense action, strong male characters, and themes of courage and determination. 1. Berserk, a dark fantasy series following the story of Guts, a lone mercenary with a tragic past, as he battles demons and struggles against fate. Berserk, also known in Japan as Kenpudenki Berserk, is a Japanese anime television series based on Kentaro Miura's manga series of the same name. The series was produced by Nippon Television and VAP, animated by Oriental Light and Magic and directed by Naohito Takahashi. It was broadcast for 25 episodes on Nippon TV from October 1997 to April 1998. Berserk was formerly licensed for English release in North America by Media Blasters, and later acquired by Discotek Media. Berserk has been well received, with critics praising its storytelling, characters, setting, and soundtrack by Susumu Hirasawa. 2. Fist of the North Star, the legend of the savior who came at the end of the century. Fist of the North Star is one of the first large-scale seinen along with such creations as Dragon Pearl and Saint Seiya. The plot of this 80s anime takes viewers to an alternate reality where a nuclear war took place in the 1990s. As a result of this war, almost all living things died out. However, humanity was able to survive. The main character is a wanderer named Kenshiro, who by the way looks like Bruce Lee. He is also the chosen heir to the terrible martial art with a 2,000-year history of Hokuto Shinken. By hitting the points of mental pressure with the help of Hokuto Shinken, you can guarantee to kill a person in 5 minutes. The world in which Kenshiro lives is similar to the world of Mad Max or Fallout. He's gloomy, it is full of chaos and anarchy. Throughout the series, he fights gangs of looters and a bunch of villains, helps weak and oppressed people and makes friends who can always be relied on. There is an interesting story, many wonderful characters, cool music. The best compositions here in my opinion are Iwotorimotase and Silent Survivor, and a bunch of cool battles. There are not many episodes here, only 109, however, there are filler series consisting of recaps, but fortunately there are not so many of them here, and you don't have to watch them at all. I believe that everyone should watch this series at least once in their life and at least as an introduction to this franchise. True, the drawing here may seem primitive and squalid to many, but for the 80s it is quite acceptable. The series is over, but Kenshiro will return in Season 2. Season 1 from me. 10 out of 10.
Goblin Killer. Announced that you are releasing a fantasy based on the popular Renob/manga with a large audience of readers. Create a trailer with a low-key video next to it, where there will be a fantasy entourage and goblins flashing in it. Make a random mistake by putting a rating of PG-13 instead of R+17, so that it lights up on all reputable portals, and then change it to the correct one. The initial minutes of the first episode flow smoothly, without any catch, a calm fantasy with adventurers carelessly going on a mission. Now the perfect chance has crept up, the audience is caught off guard. A terrifying series of brutal murders, rape and other passions characteristic of an adult rating immediately rolls over the viewer. Mission accomplished equals profitable PR. The anime database has won a good audience for heated discussions. Forums with thematic portals are bursting with discussion. Adventurers fight in dungeons and locations with evil monsters. They catch their breath in guilds and pubs for everyday chatter, discussing their adventures. Having had a good rest, they set off in the morning for a new task, dreaming of increasing their rank. Everyone is sorting out the missions, and only our lonely hero is humbly waiting for the task of killing goblins. Adventurers know that goblins pose a serious danger. Goblins attack small, poorly endowed villages, but residents and village heads cannot offer decent payment. Therefore, experienced adventurers do not get hung up on the same thing, ignoring these assignments, taking up the cleanup of more serious and dangerous monsters. And this is normal, because in reality few people care about poor neighborhoods or villages. In reality, they know about many problems, such as global warming, but they cannot do anything significant. After all, what is not directly related to you is not as important as your daily business. The story revolves around an experienced silver-ranked adventurer killing exclusively goblins. Ask why? The answer will be banal: he hates and wants to take revenge without stopping, seeing them as a serious threat. Goblins raid, killing residents, and those who survived are kidnapped and raped. Watching such an atrocity from the outside, the viewer will hate the green geeks. Would someone say that violence is used for a fan service or a fetish? No, there's hentai for that. In this case, the role of violence is to make you angry at all the goblins and want to kill them the way the goblin killer himself does. Most of the characters are formulaic. We have a sweet and innocent priestess in our clip, a cheerful childhood friend with impressive shapes, a blonde elf with a sharp temper, a hot girl from the guild and several cool characters like a dwarf and a lizard man. Therefore, the only exception is the main character himself. He is taciturn, dressed all in armor, reliable, persistent, knows everything about goblins. He becomes happier and happier every time he kills goblins, changing his path from revenge to satisfying sadistic desire. Madness drives you crazy, slowly turning you into a monster who just likes to kill goblins day after day, while losing a grain of humanity at the same time. However, he is reasonable in battles. He puts the safety of his comrades in the foreground, which means that everything is not so bad. Feel the taste of life? Joy? Falling in love? No, he only cares about killing goblins. The rest is secondary, so don't ask too many questions, just watch what happens next. In other words, the atmosphere is elevated to the absolute, not the plot. The Incredible Adventures of JoJo. One of the best anime/manga. This masterpiece is undeservedly undervalued in our country. Many people prefer to watch either a sturdy walkthrough or review classics, but JoJo often remains in the shadows, which is very sad. It's worth starting with the fact that the original manga has already passed 30. The fact that the anime adaptation of the manga received many years later seems to hint that it has passed the time test and is still loved by the people. The plot of the first story arc may seem primitive and simple, and the main character is wholly and correct without any flaws. It is worth understanding that the first arc is experimental and is just the beginning of a great story. Even the opening speaks about this. In the first seconds, footage from the manga flashes with other main characters, of which there are many. We will get acquainted with each of them in each new arc. Each arc is a small, and sometimes large, separate story in its own style, time and place of action. The characters also change, but some of them wander from the previous parts already aged and changed in face and behavior. The conclusion from this is that you didn't like the first arc, you'll like the second one. And you didn't like her? You can jump to the fourth one right away. They differ very much, and you will still understand what is happening there, even if you will not notice the old characters. But I strongly recommend watching them all, because each of them is a great story with great characters. And now a little bit about the heroes. You will remember everyone. Each of them is somewhat different from the others and attracts attention. Names are often taken from musical performers and their songs, so they are not a set of random and incomprehensible sounds for a Russian person and have a pronunciation easy to remember. Some characters are so catchy that they are remembered for a very long time and treated with warm feelings. The events that happen to the characters can be called just incredible and strange. They interest and engage in the narrative. But these events are always plausible, and do not turn into a child's war game, where everyone suddenly has a super armor and a super weapon that penetrates the super armor. Battles. They look cool and intriguing here. Although all the heroes of the first 3 arcs look like jocks, battles are built on tricks and streets, not just on muscles. Often the winner is the one who managed not to hit harder, but to dodge the blow and adjust everything so that the damage inflicted by the enemy would go back to him, or even set a trap based on the weaknesses of the enemy. The setting also changes with each arc. If in the first arc we have vampires and Amwan, then in the fourth, the salvation of his hometown from a mysterious killer, who, unlike the killers from Hollywood horror films, lives an ordinary life, which makes him much less noticeable. I recommend this masterpiece for viewing/reading to anyone who misses great adventures with great characters and a story.